His father said it between the stuffing and the pie, not in anger, that would have been easier to carry. He said it the way you state something geographical, something already mapped and agreed upon. He was describing Marcus to their uncle, something about Marcus's new position, his trajectory, the kind of son you don't have to worry about. And then, without shifting tone, without even glancing down the table, Ryan, he'll never amount to anything, always had his head somewhere nobody could follow. Ryan passed the gravy. He refilled his water glass. He smiled at something his cousin said about the game. He ate his meal and helped clear the plates and drove home 2 hours through flat, dark highway and did not cry, which was not strength exactly, more like a muscle so frequently used it no longer registered the effort. He had stopped explaining himself to his father somewhere around age 26, not dramatically, not with a conversation. He'd simply noticed, after years of trying, that his father's dismissal wasn't based on evidence. It was based on incomprehension, the specific, confident incomprehension of a man who had decided that what he couldn't understand couldn't matter. Ryan worked in a field his father had no language for. He'd tried early on to build the translation. It never landed. At some point he understood. The audience wasn't ready. And performing for an unready audience costs more than it returns, so he stopped performing. He went quiet, and his father, lacking updates, filled the silence with his oldest assumption. He'll never amount to anything. The sentence had been true for so long, in his father's telling, that it had become part of the family's furniture. Marcus never contested it. Ryan didn't blame him. Marcus had his own position in the family architecture to protect. That night at dinner, Marcus had passed the roles without looking at Ryan, a small avoidance that said everything about what Marcus had heard and decided not to spend any of himself on. Ryan understood. He had stopped needing people to spend themselves on his behalf. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, he was in his apartment on a Tuesday morning, coffee going, laptop open, when his phone rang. The name on the screen was his project director's director, a level of the organization that contacted him directly approximately never. He answered. The call lasted 19 minutes. There was an offer inside it. A significant one, the kind that arrives after 18 months of work that no one outside the work could fully see or evaluate, the kind that changes the coordinates of a professional life quietly and permanently. He said he'd like 24 hours to review the terms. They said, of course. He hung up. He sat in his apartment in the particular silence of a moment that is larger than the room it happened in. He looked out the window at nothing specific. Then he made more coffee, which is what he does when he needs to do something with his hands while his mind catches up. He called his mother. He called his mother first, not his father. This was not a calculation. It was an honest reflection of where things actually lived. His mother had always been the one who listened without needing to understand everything first. She made a sound when he told her that was partly a word and partly just breath, the sound of a woman receiving something she had been hoping for longer than she'd admitted. She said, "Your father will be so proud." Ryan said, "Thanks, Mom." He said it gently. He moved the conversation forward. He was not managing his father's pride. He had retired from that work years ago quietly, without announcement. The news moved through the family the way news does. His mother to his aunt to someone to Marcus. Marcus texted 4 days later, "Hey, heard the news. That's huge, man." Congrats. Ryan read it twice. He felt something toward Marcus that was not resentment, something more like the specific sadness of two people who grew up in the same current and got pulled in different directions. He typed back, "Thanks, man." He meant it, only toward Marcus. His father called 6 days after the news had circulated. Ryan answered on the second ring. His father said congratulations in a voice Ryan had not heard before, careful, slightly recalibrated, the voice of a man adjusting a measurement he'd thought was fixed. He did not apologize. Ryan had not expected him to. Men like his father don't dismantle their architecture with words. At best, they quietly renovate, room by room, without acknowledging the original blueprints were wrong. They talked for 7 minutes. His father asked 2 questions about the new role. Ryan answered them plainly. When they hung up, Ryan sat with the call and took its temperature. He felt less than he'd expected. Not numb, just done with a specific kind of waiting he hadn't fully known he was still doing. The waiting was finished now, not because his father had given him anything, because he no longer needed what his father had withheld. That was the thing. That was the whole thing. He opened his laptop. The work was still there. The same work it had always been. Careful, specific, built in the hours when no one was watching, because no one had thought to watch. He pulled up where he'd left off. Outside the window, the afternoon was ordinary and gray, and entirely uninterested in what had shifted. He started where he'd stopped. That was enough. It had always been enough.